Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 26th part of What If Deku Can't Stop Adopting Kids. Hope you enjoy. Link to the original story and author in the description. Chapter 142, Midoriya News Part 1. And welcome everyone to the first episode of Midoriya News. Ken and Nara were currently dressed in tiny suits, sitting at a news station desk with a green screen behind them, imitating a newsroom, where we report all the insanity that happens here at the Midoriya Foundation. Ken continued. I'm Ken, here with my sister Nara, and we will be your reporters for today. Ha! Was honestly expecting you to introduce me with some kind of insult, Nara said, giving her brother a confused look. No need. The comments will do that for me because the world gets to be subjected to the sight of your face. Ken smirked. Oh, that's rich coming from the guy whose only dating experience comes from a girl who wanted to turn you into a dog. Nara fired back. Ken's face went red with embarrassment, and he decided now was a good time to move on to the actual news. My sister's but ugly face aside, in today's news we'd like to talk about our wicked new security system. That's right, the head of the Midoriya Foundation, Izuku Midoriya, has taken the villain attack on our home very seriously, and has taken the opportunity to vastly improve security while construction was happening. Nara explained as an image of a turret appeared next to her. Turrets and watchtowers have been added in addition to the Grim, and even more is to come thanks to the addition of a new division to the Midoriya Foundation, the Scientific and Research Division. This new division will be led by a former DOC employee, Miru Jiken, Ken explained as a picture of Miru popped up next to him. She doesn't look like much, but apparently she's really smart. Suddenly Kay popped up from behind the desk. You could say she's smart as a fox. Ha 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 ha. A laugh track played while Ken and Nara gave very unimpressed looks at the camera, and Kay went back down. Ken sighed. She's like that all the time, help. Back to the topic, we actually have an interview coming up with Jiken later, so stay tuned, Nara said. In other news, the Midoriya Foundation welcomes in 4 new members. Pictures of Sheena and Knees appeared on the screen. On the right we have Sheena. She is a defector of the Meta Liberation Army. She was unfortunate enough to be born into that group of turds, and forced into it by her sucky parents, Ken said, not hiding his disdain. She helped a lot in fighting those loser villains that attacked us, using the attack as a chance to get away from those jerks. Her quirk is called Death's Hand, Nara reported as footage of Sheena using her quirk played over them. It allows her to transform her hands into sides, and when she cuts something with those sides, she can kill anything, including parts of them that you can't normally kill, like the will to fight, or your quirk. Yeah, it's a pretty cool quirk, not as cool as ours, but pretty close. The name is way too edgy though. I mean Death's Hand? What is she 5? Then again, it's better than any name dweeb over here could come up with. Remember when you called Wildvine, Ms. Plant? Guess that was a MS take. Kay popped up once more, and the laugh track played before she sunk back down. Ken and Nara both sighed. You know that was your fault, right? Nara said, glaring at her brother. What? How is that my fault? You're the one who came up with that stupid name, Ken argued. You're the one who brought it up, Nara shot back. And like have any right saying anyone's naming skills are bad when you named one of your forms Guy. Guy is a great name, Ken continued. Splash. From off-screen, Kota shot 2 blasts of water at both of their faces. Back on topic. Nara sighed, rubbing her temples. Yes, thank you. Moving on, next we have Knees. Not much is known about her, other than she was found with amnesia. Her quirk is called Vectors. You know Doc October from Spider-Man? Ken asked the camera. Basically her quirk is that, but invisible, giving her 4 invisible psychic arms that come out of her back. Moving on, we have 2 more occupants joining us that you may be familiar with, Nara said before images of Alice and Chol went up on screen. That's right. The sister and niece of the #1 American hero Stars and Stripes. Alice and Joel Bate. Yup. People knew SNS were coming to Japan, but they didn't know why. Well, we'll tell you. Ken announced. It's because her little sister was coming over to accept a job at the Midoriya Foundation. That's right. Ms. Bate will be acting as head secretary for the Midoriya Foundation, and looking at the amount of paperwork the director has to deal with, all I can say is, thank you. Nara gave a short bow of appreciation, before continuing. Now you might be wondering, why did they decide to leave their sister's hero agency and come all the way to Japan? And the answer to that is dash. None of your business. Ken shouted. Anyway, that's all for the new guys. Let's move on to Shiruku with sports, while my sister cleans up her face. Wait, Nara was interrupted, as Ken pulled out a cream pie he was hiding in the desk, and threw it at Nara's face, absolutely smoothing her in whipped cream. Ah ha 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 ha. Ken burst out laughing, collapsing over the desk as he descended into a fit. All the while, Nara took a few seconds to process what just happened, before pulling out a thick hardcover book and raising it over Ken's head. The camera cut, just as she was bringing it down. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Hello everyone, I am Izuku Midoriya, and I'm here with Kiba Midoriya and Sori Jaga at the tennis field, to watch the most powerful game of tennis to ever be played. Shiruku explained. Behind her was, of course, the tennis court, with Kiba and Sori on both sides. You may have beaten me once before, but this time your queen will prove to be victorious. Kiba shouted at Sori. Sori smirked. I'm looking forward to it, Lady Kiba. Come on. Make my body tingle. Let the game begin. Shiruku shouted. Kiba was first. She threw up the ball high into the air, before jumping after it, and raising her racket. Slam! Kiba slammed the ball with her reinforced racket, causing it to shoot down towards Sori's side like a meteor. Oh shit! Sori thought, before she leapt into action. Literally, she jumped back, and leaped into the air, ready to meet the ball. She knew that if she tried to hit the ball, its forward momentum would only bring them both down, so she had to be a bit more creative. With excellent precision, she moved her racket behind the ball as it was rocketing down, before pushing it down, and then deflecting its momentum, turning it sideways, causing her to spin around rapidly before eventually, she managed to send the ball back at Kiba. Kiba was too shocked to react in time, as the ball flew right past her, hitting the floor as she got ready to move. Curses! Kiba tried to hit her with a super serve, but Sori countered with a spin, and earned 15 points. Shiruku announced. It looks like Kiba's not happy about that though, let's see what happens next. TCH. Kiba scowled as she pulled out another ball, the old one having flown off to who knows where. You almost got me with that one, Lady Kiba. But I was just a little too clever. Sori said, not seeing the irony of that statement. Kiba frowned for a second, before a smirk appeared on her face, as an idea came to her. Oh, but I can be clever too. Just watch. Then she quickly threw the ball up and aimed her racket so it would send the ball flying left. Sori saw this and geared her body to start moving left. Only for Kiba to miss, and then quickly change her position, so she hit the ball right with all her might. Shoom! The ball went over to the right, and Sori's eyes widened as she quickly tried to shift her body to the other side and run over to it, but it was too late, and the ball went rushing past her, hitting the court. Looks like Kiba faked Sori out, getting her to 15 points. Shiruku announced. Just so you know, this game is up to 30, so each side only needs to score one more time to win. Heh, nice one, Lady K, completely took me off guard, Sori smirked as she took out another ball. Now, let's finish this, Lady Kiba. Once and for all. I'm ready when you are. Kiba got into a battle stance, ready to hit the ball back. Sori got ready to throw the ball up when suddenly, shadows started moving over the court. Ha! Wow, would you look at that, it's time for the weather. Shiruku called. Seems like we're about to have a rain of fireballs coming down. I'd suggest staying inside. Suddenly a crowd of manticores flew over the courtyard and started spitting fireballs down on both sides of the court. Whoa! Sori and Kiba started dodging the fireballs as they were flung down from the sky. Kiba watched as Sori gracefully dodged each fireball. Darn it, she's too good at dodging. At this rate, I won't be able to focus when she throws the ball. I need to slow her down. Wait. That might work. Just need to wait for the right moment. After getting used to the new obstacle, Sori finally managed to throw the ball up and got ready to knock it over to Kiba. And in that moment, Kiba stomped the ground, creating cracks and causing the whole ground to shake, as well as messing up Sori's movement a bit. Ack! Sori tripped and barely managed not to fall, but her racket flung forward and hit the ball into Kiba's side of the court. Kiba rushed over and smacked the ball as hard as she could, back over to Sori's side, making sure to avoid the fireballs. Sori was about to hit it back, but her imbalance, combined with trying to dodge the fireballs, caused her to miss the ball as it flew past her and hit the court. And with the shockwave, Kiba wins it, Shiruka said, giving her a short applause as Kiba stood on the field looking proud. Of course I'm victorious. I am the great Kiba Midoriya after all. Ah ha 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 ha. Kiba laughed victoriously. Of course, it's unfortunate that she had to mess up the court to do so, but hey, at least Dad's not doing the paperwork all alone now, Shiruka pointed out. Kiba suddenly stopped laughing as her eyes opened wide before she looked down at the court, which was now cracked and uneven. Then she looked back up to the sky and screamed. Curses! Well, that's sports. We'll be back to Nara and Ken after these messages, Shiruku said to the camera before it cut off. XXXXXXXXXXXXX. Please, you are the only one who can save our world, said a woman's voice over a black screen. Suddenly, it showed a man who looked suspiciously like an adult Ken, floating in what looked like space, in front of a massive goddess that looked suspiciously like an adult Eri. Hero from another world, I summon thee, said the goddess. Explore a whole new world, said some words over a black screen. Then it showed the main character, running across various different landscapes, from lush forests and plains to dark shadowy lands, to vibrant oceans, to volcanoes, all rendered beautifully in the best graphics imaginable. Make new friends, came the words on the black screen again. Since you new here, I'll be your guide, said a woman that looked like an adult Fuku. Please rely on me. Time for things to heat up. The camera switched to an adult Netsu-looking character with swords made of fire, getting ready to attack. My magic is unmatched. The camera once again switched, now showing a girl that looked like Nara in a witch outfit. Turn into epic beasts of nature, said the words over the black screen again. The dragons are said to be the embodiment of this world's elements, and the protectors of all, explained Fuku's character as it showed the Genesis Gauntlet, a big golden gauntlet with multiple slots. And with this, you can call upon their power. Embody it. Then, the camera started to show various different parts of a dragon that appeared to be made out of wood and had a glowing green eye, and a mane made of vine, before showing it off completely. Roar! Fight for the sake of this world, came the words on the black screen again. The camera now showed an image of a giant black bird covering the world, before it switched to show the already shown characters fighting monsters in real-time gameplay. Then it switched to a throne room and had the already shown characters in front of an adult Kiba-like character. If you stand in my way. Suddenly, the Kiba-like character opened her eyes, revealing them to be a chilling shade of red. Then I will crush you completely. Cut to black, once more, before the name of the game appeared on the screen. Dragon World Omni. That stayed on screen for a few seconds, before some more logos were revealed. One was the logo for Omni Games, and then under that were the logos for the consoles it was going to be on. And then, just as it seemed over, everyone went black again and the voice of Ares' character came up once again. Fear not. You are not the only hero I can summon from other worlds. Then suddenly, cut to a bright light, and All Might appearing on screen. I am here. It then showed some footage with All Might as part of the party battling foes for a little bit, before it cuts to a black screen with All Might standing in the back, and the words All Might pre-order bonus. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Their suits were torn up, Nara still had some cream in her hair, and Ken had a giant bump on his head, but they acted like nothing was wrong. That's right. The first game from the soon-to-be legendary game developers, Omni Games. Ken said proudly. Led by yours truly. Dragon World Omni is an open-world RPG where you'll gain allies and skills to help save the land from evil, Nara explained. But that's not all. As some of you may have seen, you can summon heroes from our world into the game, including All Might himself. I won't reveal those characters just yet, but I'm sure you'll love being able to have your favorite heroes join your party. And don't worry, while All Might is a pre-order bonus, you can still get him in-game. It'll just take you a bit longer. We've been working super hard on this game, so expect the best. Ken gloated. I mean, did you see those graphics? Yeah, it turns out you're good for something after all. Nara rolled her eyes. Anyway, I think it's about time we moved on to the last part of the report, that interview with Ms. Jikin. Brought to you live by our interviewer, K. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. They cut the camera over to Kei and Myru in a room with one long couch. On one end was Kei, and the other end was Myru, who was looking exceptionally nervous. Oh. We're on. Hi everyone. Kei waved to the camera, Myru doing the same but very timidly. I'm Kei Midoriya. Here with Myru Jikin for an interview. So let's get an interview of your mind. Ahahahahaha. Once again the canned laugher played at Kei's horrible jokes. So, then please tell us about yourself, please. I'm sure everyone would love to know more about you. Kei prompted, giving Mai a bright smile. Oh well. I'm actually an orphan like all of you, or like all of you were. Mai corrected. I don't know what happened to my parents, but I guess it doesn't really matter. I was raised in an orphanage, an actual orphanage, not like this place. It was much worse, and there wasn't nearly as much to do. You could play with the other kids, but, well, you see the second tail? It's actually a birth defect. And because of it, all the other kids made fun of me and wouldn't play with me, sometimes they'd tie my tails together for fun. Oh. Some people did that to my snakes too. It was super hard to untie. Kei said, keeping her positive attitude despite the horrible thing she just said. Yeah, definitely. Mai groaned, remembering the literal hours they used to spend untying their tails, as all the hairs got caught together. But, putting that aside, I didn't have all that much to do aside from watch TV. Kei nodded. Did you see something cool on the TV that made you want to learn how to make machines and stuff? Mai chuckled at Kei's comment and her enthusiasm. Well no, but you're kinda close. My interest in machines did come from the TV, but not in that way. You see, one day the TV broke. And the orphanage didn't have a whole lot of money, so they weren't getting a new one anytime soon. The other kids just played with each other, but as I said, that wasn't really an option for me. And since I had nothing better to do, I decided to try and learn how to fix the TV. And that's when I picked up my interest in machines. I was so confused at first at how everyone worked and fit together, but once I understood it, it was just so amazing to me. And so once I finished fixing the TV, I started experimenting with other things. I started going to the library to learn absolutely everything I could about how things worked, and then later on I'd go to junkyards and try to make things out of the scrap. And I started getting more and more successful, and soon enough I just became obsessed with making, fixing, and discovering things. It became my passion. Wow. Kei was absorbed by Mai's enthusiasm, absolutely enthralled by the sense of wonder and joy in Mai's eyes as she talked about her passion. That's super amazing. You got that smart by just reading books and practicing. Amazing. You're amazing. My turned bright red at that comment and giggled a bit. No, you think so? I was just really determined is all. I'm sure anyone could do it with enough work. Even me? Kay asked. Mai smiled at her. With enough hard work and determination, I'm sure you could do anything you want, Jay, just so long as it's legal, of course. Kay nodded. Of course. Please get back on script, Kay, Fu said from off-screen. Oh. Okay. Kay said, before pulling out the loose script they'd written, and trying to see what the next question she was supposed to ask was. So, what do you plan on doing now that you're the head of the new division? Well, Mr. Midoriya wants us to help make things to defend and assist you guys first and foremost, Mai explained. But aside from that, just some casual research into some interesting topics. Like what is Yami's Grim Goop? Cool. Are you gonna hire employees? I hope you don't plan on doing all the work and almost dying like Daddy did. Kay said, giving her a look of concern. No. I'll hire some employees. Maybe not too many, but just enough to get things done without overworking anyone. Mai answered, before turning sheepish. I, actually already hired someone. Oh. Who? Kay asked eagerly. I can't say, Mai explained. If she announced publicly that the first person she hired was her girlfriend, then people would be up in arms. But let's just say she's gonna be a big help. I sure hope so. Kay responded. Time's up, we have to finish, Fu said from off-screen. Ah. Kay pouted, before looking at the camera. Well, looks like our time is up. Make sure to come back again to see what's news. Ahahahahahaha. As the laugh track played once more, Fu sighed. Just had to fit one more in. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Cutting back to Ken and Nara, Ken was embedded in the wall, while Nara was sitting at the desk staring at the camera. Thank you, everyone, for listening to our news broadcast. Nara said, giving a small bow. Please remember to like and subscribe, and ring the bell for notification. And make sure to check out Dragon World Omni, in the description below. Until time everyone, take care. Chapter 143, Pro Gamer Move. I heard people say that the best way to find out if a relationship would work, would be for the couple to move in together, and see if things went smoothly. So was it wrong to consider it a sign that her time with Yami here had gone so smoothly? Every day was so much fun. They'd play video games, go out and give out candies to the less fortunate, play in the park, and she'd even started learning how to cook. She was terrible at it, but it was a start. It was so great she dreaded the idea of playing video games alone again. Which is why she was currently sulking at the kitchen table. Because in a few days Yami would be returning home. What's wrong, Sunshine? Her mother asked her as she went into the kitchen, and saw her daughter with her face on the table. Nothing, Mai said weakly, in a tone that contradicted her words. Oh, dear. Her mother pulled up a chair and sat down next to her. Is it because Yami is leaving soon? No. Mai lied. Oh dear, why don't you ask him on a date? Her mother just said outright. I'm not in love with him, Mom. Mai denied, not moving an inch. Her mother put her hand on her daughter's head. So you don't get excited by the idea of spending a whole day by his side? Holding hands on the beach? Mai blushed because she knew what her mother was doing. She could read emotions, that was her quirk. So the only thing she could do was try not to imagine what her mother had just put in her head, and how lovely it would be. And where it could go from there, she was failing miserably in case you couldn't tell. Sunshine, you know you can't hide things like this from me. Her mother told her. And it won't do you any good to hide away your emotions. Bottling them up will only lead to pain. You need to follow your heart. Like I did when I was your age. Mom, I think I'd die of embarrassment if I tried doing what you did. Mai said, finally tilting up her head to look at her mother with her very red face. But what if he doesn't like me? What if I make things weird? It's going to be weird no matter what, sweetheart. Her mother said honestly. If you hold it in the whole time, it's going to be weird trying to hide the fact that you have feelings for him while dealing with your unresolved feelings. If you confess and he rejects you, it's gonna be weird because the two of you will have to deal with a one-sided relationship, and if he accepts, it's going to be weird, because you won't know how to be in a relationship. Ugh, hi. I groaned, putting her face back on the table. Mom, this isn't helping. Well, dear, that's just how it is. Her mother said honestly. It's going to be rough, but regardless it will get better. If you choose to deal with it. If you just keep pushing it off, then it will stay awkward and hard to deal with. I'm not going to force you, sweetheart, but I strongly recommend you do something about your feelings. I thought about that for a minute, really letting her mother's words sink in. XXXXXXXXXXXXX. Okay, just a little further, we've almost finished the raid. Amai was now in gaming mode. Sitting in her room was Yami, as the two of them played on separate PCs. The game they were playing was one of Amai's favorite MMOs, Never Ending Fantasy XIV, which Amai had convinced Yami to play quite some time ago. Amai's character was, of course, a DPS character who specialized in speed, and used dual daggers. And Yami's character was a healer. Given how new he was to the game, he would normally be rather weak. However, thanks to the legendary item known as the credit card, he managed to get some equipment that made it so he'd be able to keep up after some intense grinding. The two's characters were running along with a large party of people, Amai towards the front close to the tanks, while Yami was in the back with the other healers, behind the mages, archers, and magic gunmen. Good exercise for my fingers, Yami noted, as he rapidly healed the party with all of his skills. I know, right? Amai agreed, before getting back in the zone, as they approached the boss. Okay, Yami, we're coming up on the boss, so I need you to focus harder than ever before. Yami grunted in confirmation before his eyes focused on the screen. The party entered the boss's room and were immediately confronted by the boss, Cliffdrop, a giant golem dragon. Be careful, Yami, this boss spawns pools of quicksand in whatever spot has the most plays in it. Don't just stay in one place, and don't touch the edges of the walls, they're covered in spikes, Amai warned him, getting a small nod in response. The battle raged on, each member of the large party doing their job. Amai was furiously hitting her keyboard. Each second a new skill would refresh, and as such, she needed to press at least 3 keys per second. Yami remembered, don't always try to heal. If everyone is above half health, then attack the boss. Okay. Yami wondered how she could possibly pay attention to both his character and her own while pressing that many keys, but he'd just add that to the list of things about Amai that amazed him. The battle was long because the boss was an absolute damage sponge, but eventually, they got it down to 1/10 of its health. Suddenly, a whirlwind of sand surrounded the dragon, damaging everyone who attacked him from close range and nullifying all damage. Oh shoot! Yami, get ready, he's about to unleash his desperation attack. It'll fill the entire screen and do crazy damage. Amai explained as she got ready to use her skills that would help her survive. The support characters are gonna start buffing you guys and lowering your cooldowns. Start spamming your healing moves like crazy. Got it! Yami shouted as he got ready to mash like never before. The dragon unleashed a massive sandstorm, covering the entire battlefield, and doing lots of damage to everyone on the field. Yami started mashing his healing skills as fast as he could, but he was still new to the game and was being swiftly overwhelmed, unable to press all of them at the same time. Amai could see Yami's health dropping, and she knew he was struggling to keep up. He was still a noob after all. I could go help him and leave my character on auto battle, but auto battle is trash. I'm not sure my character will survive if I do that. But, then again, this might be my chance to impress him. Screw it. She pressed the auto battle key, dived over to Yami, and started pressing keys along with him. Come on, Yami. Heal. Heal. Yami looked at her shocked for a split second, before continuing to mash keys. With the efforts of the two of them, they managed to hit all the keys, keeping Yami's character alive, as well as helping the healing efforts in general. After a few more seconds, the attack had ended, and most of the players had survived. Amai's character had also survived, but not by much. The AI was mindlessly attacking the boss, using her skill slowly in comparison to how Amai used it, and her character was on the verge of death, and was about to feel the wrath of one of the boss's AoE attacks. Seeing the danger, Amai rushed back over to her seat, turned off auto battle, and used her movement skills to get herself out of the way, just in time to dodge the AoE. Yami then started to focus his efforts on healing Amai. The boss was almost dead, they just needed to last a little bit longer. The next couple minutes were spent nervously attempting to keep Amai's character alive from the brink of death, until eventually. Roar roar! The golem dragon let out a death cry, as its health bar had finally reached 0. Cracks formed, and the dragon crumbled into dust. They had won. Phew! Both Amai and Yami had reeled back, letting out a sigh of relief. Yami had no idea why he felt so exhausted. It was just a game after all, if they failed they could try again. But Amai's desire to win was so intense, that it spilled over to Yami, and he took this much more seriously than he otherwise would have. As the quest ended, and the rewards came in, Amai and Yami turned to each other and raised their arms. Smack! And both of them gave a very, very satisfying high five. The two smiled at each other, which was rare, as Yami was not exactly expressive, but after a while, Yami got up and started stretching. Gonna go get food. Be back. Yami went out of the room, closing the door behind him, leaving Amai with a dumb smile on her face. This was what was so great about gaming with Yami. Being in charge of a team, working together to barely keep each other alive, and then coming out victorious and celebrating at the end. It made her heart beat fast. I strongly recommend you do something about your feelings. Her mother's words rang out in her head, causing her face to turn bright red. Should I ask him on a date? Amai's face turned even redder at the idea. Now she was nervous once again, but for a very different reason. There would be no resetting if this went wrong. But if things went well, could she be even happier than this? The idea was just so tempting. Then the door opened, and Yami came back, holding 2 cans of gamer fuel and 1 big bag of chips. Back. Oh, hey. Amai said, trying to bring her thoughts together so she could speak coherently. Thanks for the snacks. I really need it. Ha. Why are you nervous? Yami asked, of course being able to see her emotions. This was the downside of having a crush who could see your emotions but somehow still didn't find out you had a crush on them. They could see through you just enough to make you have to explain yourself, but not enough to just figure you out and get the ordeal over with. I wanted to ask you a question. Okay. Do it, Yami told her. He'd told her not to be afraid to ask him anything, and he meant that. Amai bit her lip nervously, as she tried to muster up her courage. I was wondering if you'd like to dash. Ring. Just then, Yami's phone started to ring in his pants. Yami raised up his finger, indicating for her to give him a second, before pulling it out and answering. What cliché timing. Amai thought to herself, as she watched Yami listen to whoever it was calling him over the phone. After a few minutes, Yami finally responded. Okay, I'll tell her, soon, goodbye. And with that, the conversation ended, and Yami put his phone back in his pocket. What was that about? Amai asked, her curiosity overtaking her other feelings at the moment. They're starting something called Minecraft server, Yami explained. Want us to join? Oh, a group Minecraft server. I've always wanted to be part of one of those. Amai had seen many videos of people on group Minecraft servers, and it looked like a ton of fun. I'd love to join. If they can handle me, that is. Yami nodded. Okay, what you want to ask? I was wondering if Amai could feel herself losing her nerve. It was now or never. If you'd like to share a Minecraft house with me. Yami stared at her blankly for a second, before shrugging. Okay. Amai screamed in her head, but she forced herself to smile. Thanks. Thanks. Why don't we log onto the server and start building? What did I just say? Amai screamed in her head. Why did those words come out of my mouth? Out of all the things I could have said. To Amai, this was the worst possible thing she could have asked. Because to a normal person, this meant pretty much nothing. But to a gamer, sharing a Minecraft house symbolized some kind of relationship, usually romantic. She's somehow been both over-romantic and not romantic enough, and now she couldn't back out without looking weird. Why are you still nervous? Yami asked, confused as to why she'd still be nervous if he already said yes to her question. I just really want to make the best house possible. Amai lied. Fortunately, she was too nervous to feel guilty about lying to him, so Yami didn't notice. We will, Yami assured her. You're best at games. So no problem. Amai's face somehow got even redder, and she quickly went over to the TV. Thank you, now let's start now please. Chapter 144, The Fun Never Ends. Wow. Myru looked up at her new lab, with Uchi by her side. The lab was a 3-story high, white building, that stretched over the length of 2 football fields, not including the 2 levels that went underground, and stretched on even further. It's amazing, Uchi whispered in amazement. I want to make sure that my employees work in the best conditions and have everything they'll need, Izuku said from behind them. Thank you, Mr. Midoriya, sir. Mai turned around and bowed to him. I really don't have the words to express how grateful I am. Then use actions, Izuku told her. Like I said, I don't care what you do here, who you hire, or what you research, just so long as you make me what I ask. Research what I ask. Do your best not to hurt anyone, including yourselves and your staff. And of course, do nothing illegal. Of course, sir. It's our honor to take on such a responsibility, and we will do our best not to disappoint. Uchi said, bowing to him alongside her girlfriend. Izuku pulled out a paper and handed it over to Mai. This is your yearly budget. I'm not saying I won't let you go over it, but it would have to be for a very good reason. It may raise if we earn more income. Mai unfolded the paper, and when she looked at the number, her eyes went wide. Oh, wow. Uchi took a look at it as well and had a similar reaction. Oh my. Izuku smiled at that reaction. Hopefully, that means they won't be going over budget anytime soon. Well, I'll let you two get settled in, Izuku said as he started walking away. I have to go receive 2 children. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Izuku waited in front of the house for Yami and Jin to arrive. He'd instructed the DOC agents to pick up Yami on their way, to save Amai's family the trouble. After some time passed, finally, he got a notification that the car was approaching the gates. He opened them with his phone and allowed them inside. The car drove up, around the tree, and to the front of the house, before stopping. Immediately, the back door opened up, and Yami came out, walking right up to Izuku. Izuku smiled and leaned down, scoping Yami up in his arms, happy to see a small smile on Yami's face as well. Hey there Yami, how was it? Good. It was fun. Got lots of energy. Yami explained, giving Izuku a quick hug. I'm glad. On both accounts. Izuku said, putting him down before nuzzling his hair. Sir, Sai said, as she exited the passenger seat. Buura, thank you for keeping him safe, Izuku said, giving her a short bow. I'm just doing my job, sir, but thank you, Sai said, smiling at her boss's gratitude. Yanin. At the sound of a yawn, they all looked back at the car and saw Jin stumble out of the car, wearing purple pajamas and a harness on his chest, containing a mostly empty fractal, which was currently absorbing the radiation he was emitting. Jin rubbed his eyes as he slowly walked toward them. After a couple of seconds, he reached them, and then looked up at Izuku, finally fully opening his eyes, inspecting the green teen for a while. "You're my new caretaker, or something?" "Yep. My name is Midoriya Izuku. It's nice to meet you." Izuku kneeled down and extended a hand for him to shake. Jin curtly shook his hand, before yawning again. "Hi. I'm Jin. Can I go to my room now?" "Of course." "Do you want me to carry you?" Izuku asked him. So long as Jin had a fractal on him, his radiation wasn't dangerous, so he was safe to touch. "Please," Jin said, raising his arms up, allowing Izuku to pick him up and carry him away. "Yami, feel free to do whatever you'd like for now. I'll talk to you later," Izuku told him, receiving a thumbs up from Yami, as Sai picked up his things, and they all headed into the house. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Izuku reached Jin's room rather fast. Like Fuku and Ni's, Jin's room had a metal door, to make sure the radiation didn't leak out. Izuku opened the door and carried Jin into the room. It was a rather simple room, as most rooms started. The only special detail was that the floor had very tiny holes in it. One of the reasons it took so long for this room to get made was because of this floor. It was designed to suck the chaos energy that radiated off of Jin and tunnel it over to the laboratory. There was also a closet full of empty fractals and harnesses for when he left the room. Jin looked around for a few seconds before grunting. "Looks good. You can let me down now." Izuku set the boy down on his feet, where he promptly walked over to the bed, got under the sheets, and before Izuku could say anything, he fell asleep. He had expected this thought. Due to his birth defect, Jin's quirk was constantly active on a low level, which had, unfortunately, had the side effect of leaving him almost constantly drained and out of energy. This meant that Jin spent most of his day asleep, and when he was awake, he typically didn't move around a whole lot. "Well, hopefully, this means I don't have to worry about him getting into trouble." Izuku sighed. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX demonstration of the new Grim. So why'd you call me for this, kiddo? Sori asked the pale boy curiously. Wanted to see if you could beat new Grim, Yami explained. Made it to beat you. Oh? Now you getting me excited. Sori grinned, before cracking her knuckles. Eventually, they reached an opening, big enough for the display. Alright kid, show me what ya got. Sori went over to the center of the clearing and got in a battle pose. Yami then started barfing up his grim goop, until it made a very, very large puddle. After a few seconds, the goop started to rise, and take form, until it took the shape of 7 new Grim. These Grim were very tall, lanky humanoids, with skull-like faces, that emitted a red glow from their face and eyes. Its entire body was skinny and skeleton-like. It had extremely long arms, but no hands, rather its arms just split into 2 very long thin fingers. With claws on the end. The thing was even more nightmarish than a normal Grim. Oh. Scary. Sori commented, not sounding scared at all. They look pretty scrawny if you ask me. Was Yami's response, as he silently ordered the 7 Grim to surround her. So, what do these do? Izuku asked. Watch, Yami instructed, before giving his next command. Attack! Rah, hi! The 7 Grim screeched so loudly it rang throughout the forest, causing all the humans around them to cover their ears. However, this did stun Sori for a second before she regained her composure. Fortunately, while the Grim were advancing on her, they were very, very slow. They moved even slower than a normal human walking. Gonna have to use more than just loud noises to beat me, kid. Sori shouted before she dashed over to the closest Grim, and thrust her claw forward, right at its throat. Only for it to bounce off its neck, leaving a very small cut. Realizing that these things were much tankier than they looked, Sori switched her tactics from one-shot kills to rapid strikes. Sori unleashed a rapid stream of claw slashes at the creature's neck, digging deeper and deeper into its throat, but something was off. Her eyes widened, and she jumped over the monster, away from the Grim, and looked at herself. Something's off. Why does my body seem so heavy? It wasn't like her body was physically heavier, it was more like she was being drained of energy. Is that what these things do? Sori thought to herself. Crap, I need to fight these things without touching them. How do I do that? As she was thinking, the Grim raised up their arms and they extended out towards her. Shit! She thought, as she dodged to the left, and started running to avoid their extended arms as they followed her. For a while, this continued. Sori continuing to move and dodge away from the Grim easily, but unable to actually attack them. Eventually, though, Sori got tired of this and scowled at the Grim. Fuck it! Sori dug her claws into the ground, and lunged at the Grim at full speed, tackling it to the ground. She sat atop the monster and unleashed a flurry of claw strikes at its head and neck. After what felt like 100 attacks, Sori finally ripped the thing's neck open. The creature let out a silent roar, as it started to fade and die. But this did little for Sori, who felt absolutely drained. She really didn't want to move anymore. And to make it worse, the other creatures extended their arms and grabbed various parts of her body. At first, Sori wanted to slash them off of her, but that sounded like so much work. Ugh! All Sori could muster was some weak slashes, which did approximately nothing. As the creatures descended on her, Sori just couldn't muster the energy to move, or to even care. Why fight back? These things wouldn't kill her after all. She just had to call out, and it would be over. But that sounded exhausting too. Why do any of that, when she could just lay down and do nothing? And so as the monsters stood over her, Sori just laid down and did nothing. Enough! Get off! Yami ordered. The Grim obeyed, taking their hands off of Sori, and backing away. Izuku ran over to Sori, who was still laying down, staring at the sky. Are you okay? Dunno. Sori's voice was almost monotone, she didn't even bother to tilt her head to look at Izuku. Hey, boss, could you just leave me here? I don't feel like moving, or talking, or doing anything really. Izuku turned to Yami. Yami, what did these things do to her? And can you undo it? They drain willpower when touched, Yami explains simply. Very sturdy. Hard to kill. She be okay in few hours. Okay, I see. Izuku put his hand to his chin and started thinking. On the one hand, this could be very effective. They managed to beat Sori after all, and she powered through literally every other Grim Yami had made. But on the other hand, these things were extremely slow. Izuku could probably escape from them without much help. So unless the intruders stopped to try and fight these things, they wouldn't be super useful, at least not in small numbers. If he had large groups of these things placed in strategic locations, they could be very effective at stopping intruders or at least slowing them down. Then there was also the issue that seemed a little inhumane. Sure, the effects wore off, but Izuku had been in the position of having little to no willpower, and it was severely unpleasant, to say the least. Still, if they could help him protect the children, then he didn't have much choice, did he? Not with the MLA out for his blood and his children. Well, we'll talk about how these will be put into the defense later. For now, make something to pick up Sori, and then let's go back. So we can have your welcome feast. Izuku told him with a smile. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Izuku let out a pleased sigh as he lay in bed. Overall, things had gone well today. There had been no issues with the lab. Yami and Jin got here safely. Yami made a new powerful Grim, and Sori had recovered well from the effects of the new Grim, which Kiba had called the apathy. Sori had taken care of most of the paperwork today, meaning Izuku actually got to spend time with the kids. Things were looking up. Now his priorities were hiring more personnel, namely a nurse, and getting Yami to spit out some more Grim to get their defense back in full force. He also had another session with Rin soon, meaning he would be getting further along in their test. as Izuku laid down, closed his eyes, and got ready to go to sleep. Ding! Izuku sighed as he opened his eyes back up, and picked himself up so he could look at his phone on his nightstand. It was a couple of texts from Tsuma. The first one was a photo of herself in a bar, with a very large blonde woman. That by itself was good. Tsuma was already getting out there and interacting with people. But it was her second text that interested him more. I may have found you a nurse. It read. Izuku felt like an idiot. He had the head of several hospitals in his department, and he didn't think to ask her if he could get his hands on a doctor or something. Ding! Another text. It read, she's willing to do a psych probe. She's rather desperate for a job because her method of healing, while effective, is rather unorthodox. I very much doubt she's a secret assassin, but you can test her any way you want. Well, that's a good sign, Izuku thought as he texted back. Thank you for the help. And I'm glad you're getting more social. You'll have your pictures shortly. Give that person my contact information. Izuku texted. After that, Izuku quickly texted Tsuma about 10 pictures of Eri he had on hand, before putting his phone down. Once more, Izuku laid down, with a smile on his face. After so much work and so many setbacks, things were finally looking bright once more. Seems like the period of hardship would soon come to an end. Ugh, Izuku grunted as he picked himself back up, flipped his phone over, and looked at who the heck was calling him now. And when he saw the name on the caller's ID, he froze. Izuku just looked at the phone as it vibrated, unsure what to do. Part of him wanted to ignore it and just go back to sleep. But he was too curious and cautious. He had no idea what this was about after all. And it would have to be a pretty serious situation if his father was calling him after all this time. Chapter 145, Baku Block. Are you okay? Ren and Izuku were in Izuku's office, sitting on opposite couches once more. Honestly no, but I don't want to talk about it right now, Izuku sighed as he started chugging his coffee. You do realize this is therapy, right? Ren asked, taking a sip of his own coffee. I'll talk about it eventually, just, please not right now, Izuku begged. It's fine, I'm not gonna force the matter, just wanted to remind you that this is a good place to get things off your chest, Ren told him. Thank you, I'll touch on this one day, just today, Izuku said, before finishing his decaf coffee. Shall we get to the point? If that's what you want. Ren took a few seconds to finish his own decaf coffee. Then let's go. Go. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Entering the velvet room, now that he knew what was happening, was a rather pleasant sensation. He awoke at the bar, facing Lavenza, who quickly gave him a polite bow. It's a pleasure to see you again, Mr. Midoriya, Lavenza told him. When we heard of the attack on your home, I was worried for your health. But it appears you are mostly intact. Although the stress seems to be negatively affecting you once more. But you seem to be handling it better than before. Thank you, and I appreciate the concern. Izuku bowed back. I'm just glad we got through it all without anyone being killed. Things like that make me wish I could use my fighting abilities in the real world. Ren sighed. Same. Izuku chuckled. How useful Heracles would have been during that attack. Speaking of which, sorry for not staying longer, Lavenza, but I really would like to get to the palace. It's fine. There are many people who are more eager to get into the palace after their first experience. Lavenza explained, before motioning to the back door. The palace is ready. Please remember not to rush through it. Even though this method, healing, takes time. Izuku nodded. Right. Thank you. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX All the shadows surrounding them on the outside avoid them. Now that they know, we can fight back, it seems the ones outside won't touch us, Ren noted as they strolled up to the school. Typical of bullies. Without the teachers covering for them, they don't have any protection. Izuku sighed. As if only it was that simple in real life. Then again, I never really tried to stick up for myself back then. The two of them arrived at the front doors and took a moment to stop. Well, it's time to fix that, Ren told him. Are you ready? No, Izuku answered honestly. If he had it his way, he'd never enter through those doors again. But he needed to confront his trauma if he was ever going to move past it. But let's get this over with anyway. Ren and Izuku put their hands on the door and pushed it open before entering inside. Slam! The moment they went inside, the doors slammed behind them, with an almost deafening sound. Ren turned around and tried to pull the door open with a tug. Looks like we can't go back through there. You said this place worked based on cognition, right? Izuku recalled. Whenever I was here, I always felt like I was trapped here until school let out. So I guess that means we're stuck for 6 hours. Perhaps, Rin said, turning back towards the school hallway. But just in case, we should keep looking for exits. Until then, stay on guard. All right. Izuku agreed as the two made their way deeper into the school. You said we were looking for my shadow, so where would it be? I don't know, you tell me, Rin said. It's your past and your cognition. Right. Izuku started thinking as they turned around the corner in the hall. And that would likely be Deku. Izuku froze as a familiar voice made itself known. They both looked down the hall and saw Bakugo Katsuki charging toward them, but this wasn't the real Bakugo. Obviously, it was a cognitive Bakugo, based on Izuku's view of Bakugo from back then. Naturally, this led to this Bakugo looking more intimidating than normal. His eyes were pure red, and explosions danced on his palms, constantly. He was also way taller than the real Bakugo, standing tall over both Ren and Izuku. This was the guy you thought would make a good hero? Ren asked Izuku. He doesn't look like this in real life. Izuku defended. He himself was surprised by how Bakugo looked in his cognition. Considering that he didn't view Bakugo as a bad guy by any means. Then again, he always knew to fear Bakugo whenever he saw him at school, so perhaps this made sense. I heard you caused quite a ruckus out there, Deku. Cognitive Bakugo laughed, before charging at them. Guess I need to put you back in your place. Boom! Cognitive Bakugo used his explosions and blasted himself toward the two of them. Izuku froze. He wasn't scared of real-life Bakugo, because he knew if the blonde did anything to him, that would be the end of his hero career. That was not the case for cognitive Bakugo, and now he was starting to feel like he really was in Eldria again. Fortunately, Run was there and managed to react in time. Persona. Arson came out and shot a ball of black fire at cognitive Bakugo. Cognitive Bakugo charged through the fireball and took no damage as he made his way toward them at an alarming rate. Shit! Ren cursed as he and Izuku dodged to the side. Kaboom! Cognitive Bakugo hit the wall, causing it to explode, sending Ren and Izuku rolling away across the ground. Izuku grunted in pain as he and Ren stood back up, while cognitive Bakugo walked out of the hole he created in the wall and stared the two of them down. Ren summoned a handgun and started opening fire on cognitive Bakugo. The bullets bounced off Bakugo's skin, doing absolutely nothing to him. Heracles! Izuku shouted out, summoning Heracles behind him, who then rushed at Bakugo in order to attack him. Heracles raised his weapon to strike cognitive Bakugo, only for cognitive Bakugo to fire off two massive explosions at Heracles, engulfing the persona entirely. The muscled persona was launched back, and Rin barely managed to pull Izuku out of the way, to keep Heracles from crushing him. Heracles hit the school door and slumped against it, before vanishing. Alright, I'd say that's our cue to leave, Rin said. How? My cognition won't let us leave? Izuku asked, a bit freaked out that cognitive Bakugo seemed to be invincible. True, but what do you think is stronger? However, there's such thing as a cognitive contradiction. Ren explained as he got into the middle of the hall. Watch. Hey, super pissed Pomeranian. Come and get me. What was that? Cognitive Bakugo shouted as he emerged from the smoke, staring right at Ren. I'll kill you. With that, Ren started running towards the door, and Cognitive Bakugo unleashed another explosion behind him, to launch himself at Ren. Ren was a few feet from the door when Cognitive Bakugo caught up, but just when Cognitive Bakugo was raising his hand forward to unleash another explosion, Ren summoned Arsene. Kaboom! Cognitive Bakugo unleashed a massive explosion from his hand, that blew through the door, tearing the doors off their hinges and sending Ren flying through the opening. Ren flew through the air, as bits of the barrier he had summoned at the last minute floated around him before vanishing completely. The therapist flipped through the air in an overly flashy style, before landing on his feet. It worked! Izuku gasped, looking at the now open entrance/exit. A cognitive contradiction. I guess my idea of the school being unescapable clashed with my idea of Bakugo being strong. I guess Bakugo couldn't be strong if he couldn't destroy a door. Come back here, you bastard. Cognitive Bakugo fired an explosion at Ren, who dodged by jumping back. Midoriya, it's time we took out leave, don't you think? Ren took out a grappling hook and shot it at Cognitive Bakugo. The hook wrapped around Cognitive Bakugo, and Ren flung him to the left, sending him into the air, and out of Izuku's way. Grrrrrrrrr. Die! Cognitive Bakugo shouted as he blasted himself toward Ren once again. While Ren distracted Cognitive Bakugo, Izuku ran through the door and quickly made his way towards the gate. Once Izuku reached the exit, he turned back towards Ren and Cognitive Bakugo. Heracles! Make some cover. Heracles appeared in front of Izuku, and quickly raised his weapon up into the air, before slamming it down. Slam! Slam! The attack smashed into the ground, causing it to shake and rumbled, as well as creating a massive cloud of smoke and rubble. Gah! Deku! Where the fuck are you, and that masked loser? Cognitive Bakugo shouted. Meanwhile, Ren started running towards the exit, before stopping once he reached Izuku. Good work. Let's go. With that, the two ran away from the school, exiting the palace. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Ren and Izuku were back in the real world, sitting on the couches once again. Well, it appears we've reached a cognitive roadblock, Ren explained now that the two were settled back into reality. To explain, a cognitive roadblock is something in your cognition, which prevents you from resolving your issues. Taking the form in the cognitive world, as an overwhelming oppressive obstacle. In this case, the blonde boy. Katsuki Bakugo. Izuku sighed. I always thought he was strong. The strongest even. I don't think he's the strongest anymore, but I still consider him very strong. I thought he was that strong though. I'd be easy to just tell you he's not invincible, but that's likely not going to work. Ren sighed. We're going to have to deal with this, with some plain old-fashioned therapy. During our next session. I apologize for not getting much done today. It's fine. Like Lavenza said, these things take time. Izuku pointed out, leaning back into the couch. Ren smiled. Thank you, for being understanding. Meanwhile, outside the office, Yonda was listening in, with a massive smirk on her face. So all I need to do to help father is show him how pathetic Bakugo is. Oh, this will be fun. With that, Yonda ran all the way back to her room, before taking out her phone and texting Mineta. Change of plans. I'm going to need some additional favors. She texted. I'm going to hate this, aren't I? Mineta texted back. I need you to have Bakugo Katsuki humiliated in battle. Yonda texted. I don't care how you do it, just make sure it happens. And make sure to record it, and send it to me. Come on. Bakugo's one of the strongest people in class, how am I supposed to do that? Mineta texted back. Isn't the video I gave you enough? People will be pointing and laughing at him for a while already. What if he finds me out? Do you have any idea what he'd do to me? Is it as bad or worse than what I'll do to you? Yonda replied. There was a brief pause before Mineta responded. I'll do it. But you have to promise me you'll give me more of those dirty books Midoriya confiscates from the library. Good boy. Don't worry, I'll make sure you get your treat after you perform your trick. Yonda giggled manically. She got to hurt someone she hated, and help her father. What a wonderful day today was. Chapter 146, Project Reaper. Ah good, it's on, hello. My name is Myru Jiken, head of the Midoriya Foundation's scientific branch. Gosh, I still can't believe I can say that, but back to the main topic. This will be my first log as head of this branch, starting my first new experiment. That being Project Reaper. Project Reaper is focused on researching and improving the performance of Grim. For reference, Grim is short for grotesque, revolting, infernal, misshapen, monstrosities. Wonder how long it took for them to come up with that. Although I wonder why DOC put more effort into this acronym, and not their own. Whatever. Anyway, back to Grim. Grim are the product of the quirk of Yami Midoriya. His quirk allows him to absorb negative emotions from people around him, and use them to create this kind of black goo. Dubbed, Grim Goo. Goo. Guess they didn't feel like being as creative with this one. Grim Goo then can be used to create the Grim. Grim can be created to do practically anything. They can have abilities similar to quirks, but the more useful the abilities, the more negative energy is required to create them. Known abilities of the Grim include super strength, speed, and durability, limb extension, poison creation, intangibility, possession of non-living objects, regeneration, limited shapeshifting and adaptability, fire breathing, telecommunications, lightning breath, sonic attacks, heat generation, mental manipulation, and the Wyvern even has a limited recreation of Yami's own quirk. It seems as if Yami's quirk has no limit to what he can create, so long as he has enough negative energy. My first question when studying the Grim is, what is negative energy truly composed of? Unfortunately, I can't simply take a sample of its skin or anything, as whenever a Grim is killed or a piece of them is cut off, it turns into this kind of black smoke, before disappearing completely. So I have to study a live Grim. Well, not live per se, because Grim, while they do mimic living things, aren't alive themselves. They have no will of their own, and can be affected by quirks that don't affect living things. Back to the main topic. Under careful analysis, it seems that Grim are rather unstable creatures structurally. While they look perfectly solid, they appear to actually be wanting to turn into a gas and are being forced into this solid state by some kind of internal power. This would explain why the Grim immediately turn into gas after they die. As for where the gas goes after it vanishes, so far I haven't been able to find any conclusive answers to this question. However, I do have a theory. Emotions are considered non-tangible things, however, there are several quirks that can be affected by emotions, proving that emotions are in fact some form of a tangible thing, just not in a conventional matter. It's like they exist in their own world. And believe that once this negative energy is free from the grasp of Yami's quirk, it returns to its own world. Or perhaps I'm overthinking it, and it simply fades from existence. I'll try and figure out more about that later. Now, on to the exciting part. That energy I mentioned that's keeping these things together, it's chaos energy. Not the same kind of chaos energy that Jin gives off. But it's the same energy at its core. It's just altered in some way. My speculation is that chaos energy, when placed in a human body, can be altered by that person's genetics, resulting in the system of quirks we have now. But once again, that's only a theory. But enough theories, time for testing. Now how am I going to test these, you ask? Well, that's simple. I'm gonna stab them with stuff and see what happens. Seriously thought that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stab each current variant of Grim with one of three things. The first will be an empty fractal, and the next will be a full fractal. And the last will be a chaos emerald. I will be documenting how each Grim reacts to each. Let's see how it goes. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Okay, I was planning to make a log documenting the test results for each Grim, however the results among pretty much all the Grim were the same, except for some notable exceptions. First things first, the results for the empty fractal were the same amongst all Grim. After injection, the Grim would soon begin to die. And not because it was stabbed. All areas that were stabbed were non-lethal areas, so stabbing them there shouldn't have killed them. At least that's what I thought. As it turns out, the empty fractals were able to suck out the chaos energy that was lying within the Grim. This is a massive discovery, and the implications are enormous. Would you get similar results if you stabbed other quirk creations? Or even a person? Of course, I'm not gonna stab someone and see what happens, but I'll have to find another way of testing this. But back to my current experiment, the chaos energy gained from the Grim was a far smaller amount compared to what we get from Jin. It took several Grim to fill up a single fractal, but once we did, instead of glowing vibrantly in a rainbow-like fashion, the crystal instead turned black, and when the Grim eventually died, they didn't turn into smoke like they normally do. I suspect that the fractal absorbed not just the chaos energy, but the negative energy attached to it. For now, I'll refer to these as black fractals. I have no idea what would happen if one were to try and use a black fractal like they would a normal one, but given they probably have negative emotions sealed into them, I'll have to find a safe way to test that. But for now, I'm putting away all 7 black fractals in deep storage. It's best these aren't touched anytime soon. Anyway, onto the full fractals. Mostly the same thing happened whenever I inserted a full fractal into a Grim. They exploded. At first I wasn't fully sure why this happened. I thought either A, the 2 different types of chaos energy might conflict with each other, or B, the Grim's bodies couldn't handle the added amount of chaos energy, and thus exploded. Turns out, it was B. Grim's bodies were made to hold a very specific amount of chaos energy. When you flood their bodies with even a little bit more, well, you get the point. This unfortunately also caused the fractals to explode as well. Which was unfortunate, both because we lost a fractal, and because I almost died. FYI, we will not be going through the Chaos Emerald tests, as if those were to explode, it would likely kill everyone at the Midoriya Foundation, and probably most of the city. So as you can see, most of the results were the same across all Grim. Except for the Hound. When I inserted the full fractal into the Hound, it reacted much different than the other Grim. It just kinda melted. It melted into a black and white puddle. Neither the fractal nor the brain that was inside the Hound was found. This is interesting, but I'll be honest, I had no idea why that happened. I scanned the goo afterward, and interestingly enough I found both more chaos energy that Hound initially possessed, and brainwaves. Meaning it was still, well not alive but, online I guess? It didn't end up like the other Grim is my point. I think that this the Hound's way of adapting to the excess chaos energy that was flooding its systems. It's possible it even used the chaos energy to help further its transformation. Although, this seems to have rendered the Hound immobile. As it won't move even when ordered to. I'll research this further at a later time. For now, the former Hound will be placed in a container and put into storage. And that brings us to the conclusion of this experiment. While I did get interesting results, it seems that for the time being, chaos energy cannot be used to improve the performance of Grim. At least not right now. I'll be sure to check this again later, once I learn more about chaos energy. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Well, on the bright side, even if we can't augment Grim with chaos energy, we can still use more ordinary methods. And by that, I mean mechanical augmentation. Although even that is rather difficult. Many Grim either won't benefit from it or just can't handle having any augmentations made. For various reasons. But for now, let's focus on what I can do. Instead of what I can't. After all, I need to show Mr. Midoriya some results. First of all, for the Beowulfs, I'm designing some new armor for them. These will help reinforce their unarmored parts, especially their necks, as well as increase the effectiveness of their claws. It's a simple upgrade, but an effective one. Next we have the Ursa. I can't do much with these on account of their weight, but I can give them some light armor. Beringles are similar, but I can't even do that, as they have far more mobility than the Ursa, and giving it too much armor will heavily affect that. All I can really do is add some neck armor. Borbatusks are more fun. I'm developing armor for its exposed underside, as well as along its exposed spine. This armor will turn its rolling attack into a sawblade attack, making it much more effective. Goliaths are even better. Due to their strength and size, I can make quite a few adjustments without affecting their overall abilities. 4-1 Guns. I've decided to attach 2 turret guns to each side of the Goliath. These will of course be controlled by the security center. I've also noticed a big weakness of the Goliath: if you get on its back, there's not much it can do. As such, I've decided to add a large metal plate to its back. If it detects someone trying to get on top of it while the foundation is in emergency mode, it will electrocute them. The amount of electricity doled out won't affect the Goliath much, but the same probably can't be said for whoever is attacking. Griffins are also a pain because they have to fly, so again can't augment them too much. Some lightweight armor and that's it. The Nuklavi, oh, I got that on the first try. The Nuklavi is once again something I can't do much with. Some light armor to the horse's neck and a third metal claw on its hand things. And lastly, the Wyvern. You'd think this would be another case like the Goliath, but nope. It has to fly, so I can't add too much weight. But at least I can add some heavier armor. For now, that's the only thing I can do. I'm going to ask Mr. Midoriya for permission to create a grim cyberization facility, and then see what I can do from there. Until then, that's it for Project Reaper. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Okay, I know I said that was it for Project Reaper, but I just thought of something. What if irradiated the Grim goo in its purest form? Grim, once they take physical form, can't handle additional chaos energy, but perhaps in this liquid form, something will happen. I really don't know what to expect here. But hopefully, it'll be useful. Right now, we have a tube, which sucks the chaos energy from Jin's room, and brings it over to the fractals. My plan is to run the chaos energy through the goop and see what happens. Be back when I have results. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Okay, results came quicker than expected. After about 48 hours of irradiation, the goo has undergone significant changes. And by that I mean it's still mostly black, but with a glowing green core. Small problem though. I was curious to see what Yami could create with this new goo, only to find Yami was no longer able to create anything with this. I have no idea what I'm gonna do with this now. So I'm just gonna inject some Grim with it, and see what happens. This time I'll be more cautious, in case of explosions. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Okay, good news. No explosions. So injected some creeps and Beowulfs with the new goop, and their bones started glowing green. At the very least, they don't seem to have been affected much other than that. I'm gonna run some tests, and see what happens. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Okay, never mind, they do in fact explode. But this time that's a good thing. You see, upon further inspection, I found that thanks to the added mass of the goo, the Grim were able to withstand the added chaos energy. But only barely. When the Grim's physical form is sufficiently disrupted, the chaos energy will become unstable and explode. Or in simpler terms, when they die, they explode. This could be very useful for some of the lesser Grim that normally wouldn't be able to do much to stronger opponents. I'll talk to Mr. Midoriya about this later. For now, I'll call this project a success. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Log. Project Reaper on hold. New project added. Project named Project 7 Shadows. New project added. Project named Project Eraserhead. New project added. Project named Project Luict Chaos. Current projects: Project Reaper, Project Seed, Project Chaos Control, Project 7 Shadows, Project Eraserhead, Project Luict Chaos. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 27. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.